Before the count of millennia, when Lycos was young beneath the golden sun, there stood a city unlike any conceived by later minds. Spires of pearlescent light kissed the sky, a silent civilization, leaving only the perfection of its form to pierce the hum of the tranquil sea. It knew only peace, serenity, and the gentle pulse of its own quiet power. But tranquility is merely the pause between breaths. As twilight painted the heavens in hues of bruise and decay, the sea itself drew back, sighing away from the shore as if in fear. The sea's confident hum faltered, replaced by an unnerving silence, broken only by a rising vibration from the deep, the first tremor of impending doom. The bared seabed wept steam into the cooling air. Night fell, but brought no stars. An immense darkness swallowed the horizon, a living shadow that drank the light. From its heart, a void opened, a wound in reality itself. The vibration intensified, becoming a monstrous, rhythmic pulse, the world holding its breath before the breaking. The air grew thin, cold, expectant. Then came the great inhale. The very atmosphere stretched thin, pulled towards the unseen maw on the horizon. The elegant spires groaned under the impossible pressure drop, shedding crystalline tears that were instantly whipped away. A silent upward gale began, the planet itself gasping before the Titan. And the breath, held for an age, was finally exhaled, not as wind, but as water. From the void rose the wake. The entire sea of Lycos gathered and expelled as a single solid cliff face of ocean, impossibly high, impossibly fast. It advanced, a moving mountain range glowing with the trapped, terrified light of a billion abyssal lives, a turquoise wall of absolute annihilation. The roar was absolute, a sound beyond sound. Even before the water struck, the displaced air hit like a god's hammer, shattering the outer spires into glittering dust. The continent itself buckled under the approaching doom. Impact. The city drowned in an instant, consumed by a churning apocalypse of stone and crushing water. Spires became pebbles, foundations were ripped away, and the city's energy conduits died in silent underwater novas, briefly illuminating the maelstrom. Torn from the land, the heart of the great city began its final journey, sinking, groaning, settling into its new form as a tomb, descending into the crushing blackness of the abyss. The light of the golden sun became a memory, then nothing. Thousands of meters below, the final impact, a tremor that shook the seabed for leagues, carving a new trench in the silt. A cloud of ancient dust bloomed and settled, and then silence. A silence deeper than any known before, broken only by the slow fall of abyssal snow. But the deep does not forget. Over centuries, life returned. Not the life of the builders, but the patient, glowing life of the abyss. Alien corals and soft, luminous flora began to encrust the ruins, tracing the lines of forgotten architecture with veins of soft turquoise and green. The sea reclaimed its own, giving the drowned city a new, unearthly pulse. 10,000 years passed. The ruin became a reef, a beacon in the eternal night. Bizarre glowing creatures swam through shattered archways where silent architects once walked. Colossal leviathans, the true children of the deep, now glide through its boulevards, their own lights pulsing in ancient conversation with the glowing stones. And in the heart of the reclaimed city, within a fallen temple, one final fragment was dislodged by time and tide. A slab of stone, etched with symbols not of hope, but of warning. It settled upon a broken altar, and for a fleeting moment flared with pale light, whispering its only truth to the crushing dark. We were powerless in its wake. Then silt covered it once more, burying the last testament, waiting patiently in the hum of the deep. Tidal memory, where he drifted on the fringes of society. Lost in the vapor wine haze and the saxophone's lament, surrounded by holographic fish, he muttered to himself, eyes half closed, "The universe, it's just a ripple, man, a cosmic note held too long." He swirled the dregs of his vapor wine, clad in loose, expensive fabrics, tapping his fingers in perfect time with the complex jazz rhythm. Morning pierced the stale gloom, artificial light slicing through the haze. Tallis awoke to a pounding head and a world irrevocably fractured. On every screen, the sterile pronouncements of corporate news detailed catastrophe on Lycos. A sterile anchor spoke over images of a storm-battered facility. A tragedy on Lycos. A sudden, catastrophic storm breach has claimed the executive wing of the prime Hydrix collection facility. The entire Vyer family, esteemed holders of the original water rights, are presumed lost. The Hum City Council extends its deepest sympathies and assures citizens that water distribution will remain stable under their temporary oversight. Tallis stared, stumbling to his feet as disbelief turned to horror, crying out, "No, no, null that, null that!" Summoned to the sterile heights of power, Tallis faced the council's proxy, a man whose face was a bland corporate mask. The proxy offered condolences as hollow as his smile. "Mr. Vyer, a terrible loss. The council grieves with you." Dressed in a borrowed, ill-fitting suit, Tallis glared back, stating flatly, "You wanted the water rights. You got them." The proxy deflected, replying, "We are merely stewards. In fact, to honor your family's legacy and to manage public perception, we have an opportunity for you. Site manager, Hydrix Plant 7 on Lycos." Tallis scoffed, "Plant 7? That's a rust bucket on the edge of the trench." The proxy continued smoothly, "It's a vital post, a place for you to reflect, away from the city's distractions. The public needs to see a Vyer still at the helm, even a spiritual one." Exile disguised as opportunity, delivered under the unspoken threat of utter erasure. Lycos greeted him not with solace, but with the brutal reality of Plant 7, a fortress of decay besieged by colossal waves beneath perpetually furious skies. Stepping onto the battered platform clad for cityscapes, he was met only by the wind's lash and the pitying contempt of a hardened crew. No one greeted him. Drenched in sea spray, he understood, whispering to himself, "So this is it." Months bled into the rhythm of the roaring sea. Within the algae-lit, cavernous filtration chambers, Tallis, now cloaked in self-cultivated hydro-hemp, preached his aquatic sermons to a handful of unimpressed workers. "And so, you see," he proclaimed, "the ocean isn't angry. It's singing a lament. The leviathans, the deep children, they feel the planet's pain. Hydrix would be nothing without my vibe calibration." A grizzled worker muttered aside,
Vibe calibration? The pumps are held together with rust and hope. Tallis retorted, "Hope is a frequency, my friend. You just don't speak fluent ripple." Then he pulled out a flute fashioned from recycled pipe, its haunting off-key melody echoing his solitary understanding. Amid the synthetic protein and plasteel confines of the mess hall, connection sparked. Jet, Jack Snacks, supply runner, cheerful cynic, plopped down opposite Tallis. "Boss Vibe," Snacks greeted him. "Heard you were trying to teach the Leviathans jazz. Any luck?" Tallis looked up, surprised, asking, "You don't think I'm a nullskull?" Snacks grinned, pushing a packet across the table. "Null that. The ocean's got feelings. Or it's just hungry. Either way, you're the only one listening. Here, take this and call me in the morning." Snacks chuckled. "It's a rare hydro hemp gummy from the blocks. Good for vibe calibration." For the first time in months, Tallis smiled. A genuine warmth spreaded. "Kif," he acknowledged. High above the raging tempest, on the observation deck, Tallis communed with the storm. Barefoot, robed, he took a slow drag from a joint, the cherry glowing. "Easy now, big girl, just breathing," he murmured, exhaling smoke toward the battered window. "They don't get your rhythm. They just drill and drain. But I hear you. We're vibing." He closed his eyes, serene amid the rig's groans, finding rhythm in the chaos. The hydro-hemp unlocked a deeper perception. Reality warped. The storm's roar softened to a melodic hum. "Whoa," he breathed, pupils dilating. Pressing his hand to the cold window, he whispered, "You're showing me something." Through the maelstrom, deep below, he perceived faint, pulsing turquoise lights in impossible geometric patterns, a spectral city shimmering in the abyss. "What is that?" he wondered aloud. "What are you trying to say?"
Driven by the vision, Tallis moved through the sonar room's clutter of screens and wires. Come on, talk to me, darlings," he coaxed the machines, whispering endearments to the buoys. "Ping me a picture, Buoy 7. Show me what the deep children are hiding." Overriding protocols, he isolated the coordinates. On the central display, a ghost image resolved, an immense structure defined by energy and density. "By the tides," he gasped, "it's real." Conviction demanded exploration. In the damp echo of the submersible bay, the Amarillo, a small yellow one-man research sub, was being prepped for launch. Snacks, wiry in his grease-stained Hydrix jumpsuit, handed Tallis a nutrient paste packet, voicing his concern. "You sure about this, Boss Vibe? The pressure down there can turn a man into a meatball." Tallis, now in a sleek pilot suit, ran a diagnostic, replying simply, "The ocean calls, Snacks. It's bad manners not to answer." Snacks shrugged and patted a nearby water tank with a grin. "Right. You want me to calibrate the trench's mood for you? Got my bongos right here." Tallis focused on his prep, requesting, "Just keep the jazz playing on the intercom. Amarillo and I need a good soundtrack." Plunging into utter blackness, the submersible became a fragile bubble of light against the immense pressure. The hull groaned. Tallis piloted with focused grace, whispering to himself, "Don't just look with your eyes, Tallis. Feel the flow. Speak fluent ripple." A shadow, vast and silent, slid past. A leviathan. Tallis offered only a nod of quiet respect. "Respect, Deep One. I'm just a visitor." Then the submersible's powerful floodlights pierced the eternal night, revealing a breathtaking sight, a vast, silent metropolis of impossible architecture. Spires of unknown material twisted towards a ceiling of black water, all covered in a soft, pulsing layer of bioluminescent coral and flora. drifting through canyons formed by towering, non-Euclidean buildings, the scale immense and humbling. Tallis transmitted his awe over the open calm, his voice trembling. "Snacks, you are not going to believe this. It's a whole world. They didn't tell us. They never told us." He cut the engines, letting the small sub float in the heart of the dead city, the only sound the soft ping of his active sonar. Within the ruins of a massive temple-like structure at the center of the city, the submersible's lights illuminated a collapsed dome and a central, dais-like altar. Tallis expertly maneuvered the sub's manipulator arm towards an object resting there. It was a large slab of stone, fused with coral and glowing faintly. "That's not architecture," Tallis observed through the comm. It's a message." The arm's delicate pincers closed around the slab. As it was lifted, ancient silt billowed up, and the strange symbols etched into its surface shimmered with a renewed, otherworldly light. "Got you," Tallis confirmed. "Let's see what you have to say." Back in his chaotic sanctuary, the tablet rested, submerged, surrounded by sonar charts and hydro hemp smoke. Tallis immersed himself in its mystery, listening to trench recordings, sketching the alien symbols. "It's a language," he muttered, frustrated, "but not sound. It's pressure. It's a feeling. Hydrix sees water as a resource. The Council sees it as a weapon. But you are a world." Deeper he sank, into a trance woven from smoke, sonar, and the tablet's presence. Senses merged, the symbols lifted, swirling in his mind's eye. A whisper resonated from the deep. "Powerless." Clarity struck. His eyes snapped open, the shimmering glyphs resolved into a terrifying phrase. "We were powerless in its wake," he whispered in disbelief. The chilling ambiguity settled. "The wake," he mused. "If it drowned a world, then the flood was just its shadow." Dawn broke over a sea unearthly placid. On the observation deck stood a changed man. Gone was the loose, swaying guru. In his place, rigid posture, clenched fists, a gaze fixed not on waves, but on the abyss beneath. He spoke the name aloud, not as theory, but as fact: the wake. The vibe calibration had ended. His purpose shifted. "I'm listening for a scream," he declared to the deep.
Tallis Vyer's quarters in Plant 7 were a chaotic sanctuary. Hydro-hemp plants grew under the purple glow of UV lights, nestled amidst high-tech sonar equipment. In the center of the room, resting on a workbench, was the mysterious coral-fused slab, which pulsed with a faint internal light. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, salt, and hemp, the only sounds being the hum of machinery and the distant roar of the storm raging against the rig. Jet, Snacks, Morrow, leaned over the tablet, squinting at the symbols, a half-eaten bag of synth chips in his hand. "So, let me get this straight. You think this glowing space rock is singing to you?" Tallis gestured to a holographic map of the trench where a single point of light flashed red. Not singing, remembering. The pings on the deep-range sonar, they match the energy frequency of the tablet. There's more down there. Maybe the source. Your shuttle has a better deep scan array than anything on this rig. A routine supply run, a little detour, no one would know. Snacks popped a chip in his mouth and grinned. A little detour over the deepest, darkest part of the planet? The part that eats survey drones for breakfast? All right, Boss Vibe, I'm in. But if we find an ancient Leviathan's hoard of corp chips, I get a 10% finder's fee. Tallis replied, "Kith, it's a deal." High above the churning, gray ocean of Lycos, Snacks was in the cockpit of his small transport shuttle. Rain and sea spray streaked across the forward canopy. The space inside was cramped and functional, filled with the soft glow of instrument panels and holographic displays. Below them, the deep scan sonar painted a real-time 3D map of the trench, thousands of meters down. Snacks expertly piloted the shuttle, keeping it steady against the storm. All right, Boss Vibe, we're over the target zone. Deep scan is active. So far, it's just a whole lot of nothing and a few sonar ghosts that looked suspiciously like my landlord. Tallis's voice crackled over the comms. Just hold the pattern. The feeling. It's stronger here. The water's humming a different tune. It's not angry. It's expectant. Snacks replied, Expectant? Hope it's not expecting me to pay for dinner. He tapped a console, adjusting the scan frequency. Okay, tweaking the resonance to match your Space Rocks vibes. Let's see what kind of music we can make. Moments later, the atmosphere in the shuttle cockpit shifted from casual to electrified. A piercing, high-frequency tone emanated from the comms. The main sonar display was no longer showing a trench, but a blindingly bright energy source. Snacks yelled, Whoa! Tallis, you seeing this? I've got a resonance bloom that's impossible. It's like a whole city of your tablets just lit up down there. The sonar map resolved into what looked like a vast geometric structure on the trench floor, pulsing with light. Over comms, Tallis's voice was filled with awe and alarm. That's not possible. The energy output could power Hum City for a cycle. Pull up, Snacks. Get some altitude. That's not a discovery. It's a lure. No, that, man. This is the score of a lifetime. Just a little lower. A clearer scan. The Corp would pay billions for this. He pushed the controls forward, beginning a slow descent. Tallis shouted, Jet, don't. It feels wrong. It's... Suddenly, the shuttle cockpit was a scene of chaos. Red emergency lights flashed and alarms blared over the sound of the storm. The shuttle bucked violently, its system shorting out with showers of sparks. Snacks screamed, No! No! Lost all power! Flight controls are dead! He wrestled with the useless joystick, his face a mask of terror. It's some kind of energy field. It's fried everything. Tallis's voice, distorted by static, came over the comms. Jet, eject, get out of there. Can't! The whole bird is dead. We're just... falling. Through the canopy, the sea below was no longer just gray. It was churning and boiling, glowing with a sickly green light from below. Oh, Kith. Tallis? The water. The comlink cut out with a final shriek of static. On the observation deck of Plant 7, Tallis stood alone in the cavernous, dark space encased in reinforced plastisteel which offered a panoramic view of the storm. He clutched a comms unit, his face illuminated by the red flashing light of a rig-wide sonar alarm. The comms unit in Tallis's hand was silent. The deep, resonant tone of the new sonar alarm echoed through the deck. He stared, horrified, at the spot where the shuttle was. The sea boiled. Chat! From the depths, an impossible shape rose. It wasn't an animal. It was a living event, a mountain of shadow and impossible geometry that blotted out the sky. It ascended with silent, terrifying speed, dwarfing the rig itself. The tiny, powerless shuttle hung in the air, directly in its path. No. A vast maw, a void in reality, opened in the creature's form and closed around the shuttle. There was no sound, no explosion. The shuttle was simply gone. The creature paused for a heartbeat, a silhouette against the storm clouds, then sank back into the depths as if it had never been there. On the same observation deck, minutes later, the alarms had ceased. The storm still raged, but the sea where the creature surfaced was unnaturally calm, like the eye of a hurricane. The world felt muted and empty. Tallis stood motionless, his knuckles white where he gripped the railing. The comms unit had fallen from his other hand and lay shattered on the floor. His face, reflected in the plastisteel, was a ruin. The dazed guru was burned away by what he had witnessed. In his place was something cold and hard. He spoke in a hoarse whisper, to the reflection, to the sea. You were listening. He slowly raised his head, not looking at his reflection anymore, but through it, into the deep, dark water below. His grief was a cold, dense star in his chest. He was my friend, and you were hungry. His expression set like stone. It was not a look of fear, but of terrible, absolute clarity. Later that night, Tallis's quarters were dark, save for one light above his workbench. The sonar equipment was silent. Tallis sat motionless for hours, staring at a blank wall. He finally stood, his movements stiff and deliberate. He picked up a can of maintenance paint and with a shaking hand painted a large, inward coiling spiral on the metal wall. Beneath it, he scrawled a single sentence. He read his own writing out loud, his voice hollow. The ocean took snacks. It must have been hungry for joy. He touched the cool metal of the spiral, his expression no longer that of a carefree hippie, but one of a man who has witnessed something terrible and sacred. On the Plant 7 landing pad, a sleek black Hydrix corporate shuttle sat, its engines humming quietly. Two imposing figures in Stratocar-style security armor stood guard. The same council proxy from before stepped out of the shuttle. He didn't seem to feel the cold. His men were already removing the coral slab from Tallis's quarters. The proxy said, "A tragic accident, Mr. Vyer. Pilot error combined with unexpected seismic activity." Tallis replied, "It wasn't seismic activity. I saw it. You saw a weather phenomenon. Your logs have been corrected to reflect that. This artifact," he gestured to the slab being loaded onto the shuttle, "is geological noise. You will cease these fantasies. Plant 7 needs water, not prophecies. Am I understood?" He stared at Tallis, his eyes cold and empty. Tallis said nothing, just watched them take the only proof he had. Late at night, on the observation deck, the storm raged outside, but the sea itself seemed to boil with an unnatural energy. Tallis stood before the plastisteel window, looking out into the darkness where the wake had vanished. Tallis was no longer the lost boy or the quirky guru. There was a fire in his eyes. He placed a hand on the cold plastisteel as if he could feel the ocean's pulse through it. He whispered to the waves. "They can take the stone. They can scrub the logs. But they can't make me unsee it. They can't make me stop listening." He looked down at the swirling, angry water. "I'm not leaving. This isn't my prison anymore. It's my post. I hear you. And I'm going to make them hear you too, Kith." He stayed there, a lone prophet on the edge of the world, watching the abyss, waiting for it to stare back.